Hi, everyone, and welcome to another week of Big League Bourbon. How's everyone doing tonight? I see we got a few people in the chat already. Tim Evans, DC, what's going on? Lord Schlong, stop the excuses. Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out the technical difficulty here. Bourbon, what's going on? Let's see here. Trying to help out my guest here to get into the room here. So let's see what we can do here. Always fun. We're 2 subscribers away from 200, so that's exciting tonight. We might break that one. Looking forward to that. So, hey, let's do it. Let's have a good show tonight. Our guest tonight's going to be Anthony Albano, who is... Oh, come on, copy. Who's a former minor league player. But the kicker tonight is he's also a liquor rep who likes bourbon. So we get the best of both worlds all at once here. So let's see what we can do here. Uh-oh, DC says got me on 200. Cheech is in the house. What's going on, Cheech? 1 second, guys. Trying to get this email sent out to our guests. See if that will fix the StreamYard issue here. Oh, spelling it wrong. So what's everybody drinking on tonight? Hopefully some good stuff. I got myself a pour of Ezra 99 to start the night. Figured that was a good one, especially since Lord Schlong will be in here, and we know how he doesn't approve of the horse soldier. So Ezra 99 it is tonight. Hey, we got 11 people in here. Adam's in here. Hey, Mr. Whiskey Shits. There's Anthony. All right, guys. Here we go. I'm going to bring out our guest tonight, Anthony Albano, coming to you out from California. Welcome, Anthony, to the stream, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Sorry about that. I had to.
Oh, don't worry about it, man. It's StreamYard. Yeah, we've all been through the StreamYard issues one way or another here, so don't worry about that one bit. It's something that happens. So for the guys that don't know, our guest tonight is Anthony Albano. He is a former 20th round draft pick of the Minnesota Twins. He played at University of Evansville in Indiana. Then he transferred to FAU University and played, I want to say 5 years in independent baseball, and then continued on 4 years. Okay. And then played some NBC World Series, and then went on to work as a consultant with the San Fransisco Giants, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it was a iTraq vision trainer.
Awesome. So that means that if Mike Stahl ever gets his butt in here, he might be able to ask some Will Clark questions. And I've got a little info. He might get some Will Clark stuff tonight. So where's Mike Stahl? See, he's the one guy that's late. He's always the one who asks Will Clark questions.
We can look for him.
Yeah. So, Anthony, you come from in the Chicago area. You played at Brother Rice High School.
Yeah. Grew up there. My older brother went to St. Rita. I went there for a year and then transferred to Rice. And then my 2 younger brothers, they went to Rice as well. So big baseball background from Chicago.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So while you were in high school there, had a pretty storied career, got drafted out of high school by the Twins in the 20th round. You want to tell us about that a little bit, what that was like?
It was a pretty cool process. I remember as a junior, we were playing against, I want to say it was Simeon, public league school in the city, and they had a catcher and a pitcher that were just being heavily scouted, and had a pretty good day that day, to say the least, and personally, and then I started getting the draft cards that you would get and fill out, and from all the scouts in the area, and that's how that process started, and had 2 pretty good years on the varsity, and was fortunate enough that Billy Milos, the area scout for the Twins, and he gave me the phone call, and it was a pretty cool day.
Yeah, definitely. I remember what that was like getting that phone call. It's pretty exciting. It's not like it is today for everybody that, they get to watch it online and see the stuff happen live and there's social media going on and everybody's covering everything.
No.
So it's pretty special catching that phone call back then.
Yeah, and it was pretty, back then, like we had, our household had one phone line. So it was either you had the phone open or you could be on the internet. And if you're on the internet, the phone wouldn't ring. So like we couldn't be on
right.
watching it and following it live, but it was it was pretty cool.
Definitely. So you decided not to go to pro ball, but you decided to take the college route and head your way to UE. So what went into making that decision for you? Because for everybody, it's different.
There was a lot. It was obviously the 20th round wasn't life-changing money. You see
right.
those guys, top 5 rounds, even top 10, you can get money that, that you could set away and be financially off. But for me, it was a family decision. And one of the biggest, factors was Jim Brownlee at UE. Meeting him, I went there for a, official visit, and he struck home with me, and my parents sitting there, and he said that he would treat me like one of his own kids, and he absolutely did for my freshman year. And before he moved on to Illinois State, which was kind of a soul crusher,
mm-hmm.
but
yeah, definitely.
The guys at UE were great, and so that's kind of what made me choose the college route, thinking that I would get bigger, faster, stronger, and possibly go higher. But didn't work out that way, but definitely have no regrets the way things planned out.
That's awesome. And I can tell you, I've been through that same speech with Jim myself, playing there, and him talking to my family and convincing me UE was the way to go. I had a great time there. So he knows how to talk to you. He knows how to get you going, man.
Yeah, I definitely had some great conversations with him. But you were 97? Drafted out there in 97?
Yeah. Yep. I got drafted out there in 1997.
Nice.
So you came in there a few years after that.
Yeah, my freshman year was 02. So I was 01 grad out. So.
Okay, right on. So who did you get to play with there? Was that when Preston Larison was there, or was that after him?
He had just left. Some of the seniors I had there were Blake Whaley, Andy Roletter.
Okay.
Yeah, so those were some of the 2 top guys, and like the Serafini.
Yeah.
The Serafini twins that just got drafted the year before, so I played with their younger brother Mike.
Okay.
But yeah, we had a, and then there's a few guys there that that went on to play pro ball after me, and it was awesome time there for the 2.5 years I was there.
Right on. Yeah, Evansville had a hell of a run with draft picks from a couple years before I got there, all the way through into the mid to late 2000s, tapered off a little bit. Now they're starting to pick up a little bit again, but it was a pretty storied run for draft picks running through what would be the smallest Division I school in the country.
Yeah, no, it was pretty incredible what Brownlee had built there, and it definitely transitioned into the next few coaches. Like they kept it going, but for a small school in Southern Indiana, you couldn't ask for much more as far as a player trying to get drafted. They definitely had
for sure. Yeah, there's some fantastic junior colleges that always came in the fall there that always helped too. Always scouts roaming around at UE checking things out. So you made the transition and made the transfer. What was that like?
It was pretty hectic. It was the winter of 03. I went there, in the fall for my junior year, and just things kind of fell apart, with the coaching staff that was there. Just didn't see eye to eye on some things, and decided to enter the transfer portal. Contacted some guys that I knew that might have some contacts, and FAU came about, and they had a player that actually dropped out, had a full ride or full tuition being paid for, and they had a scholarship open up, and sight unseen, just through contacts, they invited me to come down there, and it was like January 4th. I drove down to Florida with my mom, and got settled up down there, and it was like 80 degrees out, and it was beautiful, and I was like, all right, I can make this home for the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. Florida's a little better weather than Indiana, and definitely better than the Chicago area in January.
A little
There's no
bit.
doubt about that. No shoveling, no nothing, man.
No, but the guys down there at FAU, they welcomed me. The team was awesome. Great team, great coaching staff. Kevin Cooney ran an awesome program down there, and no, I couldn't have asked for. It was almost like a smooth transition from the way Brownlee treated us to the way he did down there. It was just I played for some of probably the two, in my opinion, two of the best college coaches in the country. Given their careers, they had a very awesome career. So
that's great. That's great. So when you look at playing at both places, you have Evansville in the Midwest playing an MVC conference. Then you go to FAU, great weather, another good team. If you put them head to head, which one do you think would be winning?
Oh man, you're putting me in a tough spot there, but I'm going to have to pick, and I guarantee you that, if you give both teams their best days, the team that I rode with, in 2004, my first year at FAU, we were tough to beat. We had a great season.
Nice.
Went to a regional, and just some of the guys we had on that team, that went on to play pro ball, but just their college careers, I would put them up against any team that I played with. I'd roll with that 2004 Blue Wave team that I was on for sure.
That's awesome. That's when the good memories are made, man. When you get those deep runs in the year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard to pass up. It's definitely good times. So to branch over on the other side here, and give everybody an idea. We talk about baseball. We talk about bourbon here. Two of the most American things, two of the best things there are, in my opinion. So you also work in the spirits world, working as a distributor, correct?
I do. Yeah, I work for Southern Glazer Wine and Spirits.
Okay.
And there's a new division that I developed about 6 years ago. I was able to jump on the sales side, and Bacardi USA was our main supplier. And and then just about 12 months ago, Heaven Hill Brands, which is like the largest bourbon holder, in the country, they jumped over to our supplier. We were lucky enough in our division to, take them on, and it's been a blessing, to sell their brands. They sell themselves, but you getting out every day to talk about some of these brands like Elijah Craig, Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond, Larceny, Old Fitzgerald, like some really deep names in the bourbon community. It's a lot of fun, to say the least.
That's awesome. So we know you get into the bourbon world. So what was your entry to the bourbon world? Did it start before you were working for the liquor distribution, or did it start college, after college?
I would say it started, towards the end of college, getting into pro ball, hanging out with some guys and finding, just, what people like. But, I used to, sit on the bus and, have a bottle and, a big gulp to go. And, for those long road trips, you got 10, 12 hours driving through the Midwest, started to get into some bourbon. But when I moved out to California working for the Giants, my roommate worked for this distributor, and he kind of got me into, he worked for a division that sold Bullet. And it was, it turned my world upside down when it came to bourbon. I fell in love with Bullet bourbon, and it kind of grew from there. And that's still, when my first job with this company, I was selling the Diageo portfolio, which Bullet's a big part of. And so that's kind of, grew into it that way. And since I've started, selling it more, just trying different things from different companies. Doesn't have to be the stuff I sell, but I'll try pretty much anything when it comes to bourbon or whiskey in general.
That's awesome. So what's your everyday pour around the house?
Right now it's the Heaven Hill 7-year bottle and bond.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid bottle. I was sad to see the 6-year go. That was a great bottle. Nice price point, but this 7-year, it's pretty solid across the board.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of my friends on it that are just like the typical like Jack Daniels or Jim Beam. Like they don't dive into it a whole lot, and I get them to try this, and it's like the light bulbs go off. And but that's been pretty much my go-to, as a sipper.
Yeah, right on. So you've been adding to the collection. You've been getting things going. What's your favorite bottle that you have in your collection?
My favorite bottle is a bottle I just picked up, the Old Fitzgerald, the 8-year. It was one of those things where you hear people talking about it and you never see it. And
right.
Fortunately, with my job, and I started selling that brand. And even the first go around last spring when last fall, we got a release of it, and I wasn't able to pick one up from one of my accounts. But through some relationships, we just released it about 2 weeks ago, and I was able to pick up a bottle, and haven't cracked it yet. But that was the one where I was kind of like about the last year I've been trying to get my hands on, and I finally did it.
That's awesome. So now we know what your favorite bottle in the collection is. What's the unicorn bottle that you're still chasing since you locked down one of these?
The Parker's Heritage. That one.
There you go.
I've heard some amazing things about what's in the bottle, and just the story behind it. And I kind of just waiting for that next release, and I'll make a deal. I'll sell my soul to one of my accounts and try to be like,
yeah, for sure.
What can we do? Because to get one of those, that basically we got to give up is one of your limbs.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to get a pour of the single malt bourbon that came out a couple years ago. I got a pour of that last weekend at a awesome store up in Wind Lake, Wisconsin called Amon's Beer and Wine. That place has some of the best pours you're ever going to find. I mean, they have a terrace bar that's up above the liquor store that you look down over everything, and you name it, they have it up there. From Old Fangled Nodder to your Pappy Van Winkles, your E.H. Taylors, all the old Fitzes, they had the 14, the 16 up there, and I was going through the list and I saw they had that Parker's Heritage. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting that. I never see that anywhere. I'm getting a pour, and it held up. The nose wasn't what I expected. But man, when I got in there, the flavors just blew me away. It was so good. So you get that chance to get on one of those Parker Heritage, do it. I suggest that to anybody.
I'm waiting on it.
That's awesome. So I'm going to jump back over to baseball. We got a bunch of guys asking questions already. And of course, we got the big story of the week being Garrett Cole, failing to answer questions when the spider grip got brought up. So what's your take on that as a hitter?
Yeah, I mean, the baseball community is like, it's been going on for years, right? Like, everyone's trying to get an edge. And then you go over the last few years with the whole Astros scandal with, the video monitors and stuff. And like, what's the fine line? Like, what can you use? What can't you use? But it's tough. Like, yeah, if you see somebody digging into their belt buckle or something like that on the mound, and he's got your number twice that day, like, do you say something? Do you try to point it out? I don't know. I don't think I've ever was in that situation and all the different levels I played in. But what I do find pretty hysterical was Garrett Cole's press conference and the way he answered it. He seems like a genuine guy that doesn't want to lie, and that's how it came off. And he just kind of dodged it completely and just went radio silent. But that was definitely odd, to say the least, especially since that was like that spider attack, like some specific, sticky stuff that they asked him about. That's a rough, if you get that specific question like that and you can't just flat out say no, most likely, everyone knows what the real answer is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what do you think of Trevor Bauer's take on it? Trying to play the Robin Hood of baseball on the pitching side, calling everybody out without saying names and being like, well, hey, everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I'm going to ride it out until you stop everybody else from doing it. Now, what's your take on that?
He's always been that outward, spoken guy where, you kind of expect that from him. Yeah, it's not the take that I would have, personally put out there, but, obviously from that answer, from him saying that, he's probably doing something, to get the spin rate up, because he's all about the drive line and the analytics and the spin rates. And the one, who was it, that Mad Dog Russo the other day said that, like, I forget the numbers, but it was like 225 RPMs, like hitters are hitting like 300. And then as soon as you go above that, it drops down like to 250, like 50 points in your batting average. So it's like, if you can get your spin rate above that point, fastballs in the zone get hit a lot less frequently. So, I mean, you hear about, the whole steroid era, and then the sign stealing, fiasco we had a couple of years ago. Yeah, I don't blame pitchers. I'm a hitter. I don't blame pitchers for trying to get that edge, but have we gotten to a point where it's gotten too far on the other side? Or is it, is it the hitter's approach where it's all home run or nothing? Is that why numbers are down? Like, batting averages are down, strikeouts are way up. It could be a combination of both. So
yeah, I think it is a combination of both. The science has definitely taken pitching a whole different direction. It's made guys that were probably on the bubble. It's given them a chance to excel, and all it takes is finding that one pitch. You get guys like Adam Ottavino, that huge slider, man. I mean, before that, he was bouncing around, but as soon as he was with Driveline, got that big slider. Hey, watch out. That thing was wipeout.
Right.
And you see some of these other guys that have that one pitch, and that's all it takes, especially in a relief role. You got that one pitch to get you through one inning, busting out there, busting slider after slider after slider. So here's the next spin on that. One pitch, or guys improving as they get later in their career. What about Jacob Degrom? Started out averaging 92 miles an hour and has went up 2 miles an hour every single year in his career now.
It's amazing. I mean, you get some guys that, want to believe that the guns are juiced, the radar guns are juiced. I don't know. Like, if that's something that to attract more fans to the game, right? If you think that that's happening. But I just think that pitchers, position players, the level of athleticism that they're showing, over the last 10 years is through the roof. People are training like Olympic athletes now, where 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't happening. Like, you had pitchers that, just, you went out there, you worked on your craft, and, and the same thing with hitters. Like, you did like your baseball type workouts, and now it's, the whole CrossFit community that's, boomed in the last, 5 to 10 years. The athletes that are on the field is exponentially better than, more so than what they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think.
Oh, I can agree with that. Like crazy.
So going back to, Degrom with, the pitch speed, I just feel like maybe he's just, fine tune. If it's not the radar guns being juiced, if it's him fine tuning his body, figuring out, load and, release point and, whatever it is, I don't know pitching, that well, but whatever it is, he's scientifically making his body better for pitching, for that motion. I fully can see that, being a thing, and guys throwing harder, every year and just figuring it out.
Yeah, definitely. And you take a look at that slider he throws. I mean, that to me, that's his dominant pitch. You watch that thing, the amount of break he gets on it, and the fact that, when it comes to pitch tunneling, and that thing looks like a fastball all day, and you got elite hitters that just, they look foolish. They look like little kids swinging the sword up there, like the movie Benchwarmers. It's crazy to me to watch that guy get after it.
Yeah, I love when they do the video, like the split videos where it's like the overlaps of, like, take his 3 pitches and they do the overlap for behind the round, and it's the release point's the exact same. The ball stays in the same spot for the first 40 feet maybe, and then the ball rides a little bit, and then you got the two-seamer, and then you got the slider that moves the other way. That blows, like watching those blow my mind. I'm like, how do you square that up?
Dude, I wouldn't want to hit against that at all. I know that for a fact. I mean, watching some of the guys with the pitch tunneling, it's unbelievable. You get like Yu Darvish when he's on the pitch tunneling, and that guy's up there throwing 6 different pitches on any given day. That's ridiculous to me to see that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, I try to go back to, the days of in my independent ball years, and you face some guys throwing mid to low 90s and with movement, and but that was like their one pitch, and then you get to the next level, and then you go 3 more levels up through the minor leagues to the big leagues, and then you see guys like Degrom. It's no wonder guys, I guarantee you guys are going up to the plate being like, all right, I'm sitting on this one pitch, and if I can get it in the next 5 pitches, you got to hit it. And that's, hitting a baseball is the toughest thing by far.
Yeah, for sure. We got a question from Tim Evans. He asked, do you think you was using the fun stuff?
Yeah, man, it's one of those things that, if you see some of these pitches and the amount of break, the amount of run that you can get on something in the mid 90s, I would say, just go back to what you said about Bauer, and, they're not going to crack down until everyone's not using it. Why not join the party, basically? Right. I wouldn't put it past any of these guys trying to get a leg up on, the hitters, especially knowing, some of the things that have happened over the years with, sign stealing and, using electronics and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. And I tell a lot of people on here, the viewers and stuff, when I talk to different people, it's the age-old baseball line. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Whether it's stealing signs, whether it's trying to find an edge here or there. We didn't have anything as fancy as Spider Tack back when I was playing, but you could make a heck of a mix out of some rosin and some bullfrog spray. So
you were a pitcher, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I learned in Florida. They sit there and spray the hell out of you with the sunscreen. You sit there and you'd watch guys in the bullpen and just tap the shit out of their arms, and they just have this chalky ass arm, and they'd be rubbing it like crazy. And then you look and they're doing this, and shit's coming off their arm. They'd have that stringy, and they're like, and they're grabbing the ball. I'm like, okay, let's see what this does. Because nobody really wants to tell you what they're doing. They'll let you watch, they'll show you, but they're not going to tell you.
No.
And you do that. It makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference of what it will do. So Tim Evans asked another question. Now, Tim Evans is a Chicago guy, so he's going to give us some good Chicago baseball questions. He asked, do you think that was one of the reasons that Yu Darvish got traded at the end there?
I wouldn't think so. I doubt that, the upper management and the GM is going to be like, take that into consideration. Probably since everyone's doing it. So I'm guessing Tim Evans is a Cub fan, most likely.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I don't care about Cub fans. I'm a Sox fan.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. They're having a hell of a season. They built Rick Hahn,
So are the Cubs. They got, for what they were expected to do and where they're at now. They got some tough decisions to make. Do they try to, sign some of these guys back? They're right there in the thick of it. It's, it's a good thing for Chicago baseball, to say the least, having both teams right there.
For sure.
So
yeah. This is more of what you thought you would see after the 2016 season, and neither of the teams kind of performed up to that level. And you've seen the Sox get there last year and really take off, and now you see them carry that over. And then the Cubs, coming with this surprise. When you see them shuttle the whole pitching staff, and then you're bringing in Trevor Williams, you're bringing back Jake Arrieta. You look at the rotation, you're kind of like, are they trying to throw in the towel? You don't know. But all of those guys have played a lot better than I thought they would. And then you bring in Dave Wisdom out of nowhere, who is having one of the hottest starts to a big league career you've ever seen. That guy's been lights out of nowhere.
You got to think guys like him and guys like your mean Mercedes, the Yerminator, like both those guys.
Yeah.
North and south end of the city. You got Chicago, you got the Cubs who really weren't supposed to be there. And then you got this guy who's been an emergence, Wisdom for them. And then you got the Yerminator who wasn't even probably supposed to make the roster. And then you have Eloy go down, you have Robert go down, Angle go down, the whole outfield basically, which opens up the spot. DH brought him up, and he was a big part of that, the early success the White Sox had. And, I know he's tapered off a little bit, but,
he's not hitting 400, but he's still mashing the ball.
Yeah, those two unknowns, basically helped both sides of the city be where they're at right now. Both those guys have done a lot for the city so far.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it, man. Now you got the city opening up this weekend. We're going to see some full stands back in the Chicago area. I'm excited to see that happen. I got some bleacher seats myself, so kind of excited to get back to Wrigley since those seats are opening back up and see some good baseball. So, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. And to see a full crowd, I mean, we've got to see them in Texas and stuff like that, but we haven't got to see it in Chicago with these teams taking off. I'm telling you, you put 40,000 fans in the stands for these guys after almost 2 years, and you think they're playing good now? I think we're about to see both these teams go on a run for the next week or two, playing off that adrenaline and emotional high of having all those fans back in the stands and all that crowd noise playing to their advantage. I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, I think the whole joke for the Cub fans against the Sox fans were when we opened up for like 25%, we're like, oh yeah, that's your full crowd anyways. But you're right. I think once we, was it June 15th, the Sox open up fully?
Yeah.
If they don't have close to a sellout crowd, I'll be shocked, and it's gonna be like a playoff atmosphere. It's gonna be rocking.
Yeah, for sure. And Tim Evans, am I coming in town? Yeah, I got to figure out which games I'm going to come in town for. But yeah, I'll be coming in town for some games. Watch out, buddy. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting. So I'm going to dig into some more baseball questions for you. So in your time playing, you got to see some interesting cities, as all of us have. So best city you ever played in?
Best city I played in. I mean, personally, for the way I played in the city, gotta go with, let's see. Traverse City was an amazing spot. The beach bums in the Frontier League. That going up there, Lake City, it's a beautiful spot, but their stadium was amazing. And then what was this? There was a spot in Michigan. Can't think of the name of them. But I mean, basically Traverse City was one of my favorite spots to go. I mean, their stadium was awesome. The fans were always rocking, especially if you can get there up in the summer. Forget, it was like July 4th weekend. They had like a Cherry Fest, and it was like this whole festival around the town, and it was just pumping. But loved going to Traverse City, to say the least. Right there on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good place and a good city. They're kicking out some good bourbon nowadays. So
I've seen that. Haven't tasted any, haven't tried it, but they've got some spirits coming out of there. That Traverse City Whiskey Company, I think it's called, or
yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, they make some good stuff up there. You can't go wrong. And then, so now we know the best city you played in. What was the worst?
I might have to go with Florence, Kentucky.
Oh, all right. I thought maybe you were going to drop Rockford, Illinois for me.
No, I enjoyed Rockford. I actually played for the Riverhawks.
I know you did. I know you did.
They were the last team to pick me up. But their fan, like, maybe as Rockford as a city, but as like the fan base, like they always brought it. Like, even as like an opposing team going in there, like they always get, like I was playing right field, that short right field porch. I was always playing right.
Yep.
They got like that.
Yep. With the party deck out in the back there.
Yeah, the party deck. They were always on my ass, and then like, and the next week I get traded and I get picked up by them, and then they're cheering me on. But I enjoyed playing for Rockford.
Nice. So when you were there, did you play for Richie Austin then?
No. This
was the coach?
09. I can't remember the manager's name. But it was one of those things where like I always performed well against them. So then I had played. If you want a story, I played for the 08 Midwest Sliders, which was the all road team.
Okay.
That was playing for a road, the Road Warriors, road team, whatever you wanted to call them. Like, that was interesting. So going back to, I graduated from FAU, play, just summer ball in Chicago for a few months, for the Crestwood Panthers. My buddy runs that team. I played for them for a few months. Got a call from the Windy City Thunderbolts. They picked me up at the end of the season, played for them a few months, or about like the last 30 games. Off season happens. I find out I get traded to the River City Rascals in O'Fallon, Missouri. Start the 07 season there. Was playing great. Got traded to the Slippery Rock Sliders about 30 games in, out in Pennsylvania. That was just, they played like a quarter of their games at home. They played most of their games on the road. And then the next year, the league kind of sold the team to somebody else in Michigan. They turned us into a all-road team. So going into the season, it was like, yeah, you're playing in the Frontier League, but you're playing 96 games in 104 days on the road. You're on a bus, hotel to hotel. It was tough. There's
got to be some good stories in there you can share with us, though, because I know spending that much time in the bus and that much time in hotels, there has to be some epic stories.
What rating do you have on this channel?
What rating? Dude, you can go all out, man. If you didn't see Cheech's comment before, I'll pop it up on the screen. It'll tell you how the stories go on this channel. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
So that'll tell you about the rating and what we talk about as we get going a little farther in the show. Feel free to go.
I'll tell some of my family members to start cutting out.
Yeah.
I've shared this link
definitely
with way too many people.
I know how that goes.
It was awesome. The 08 all road season, there was 7 or 8 of us that made it from like day one, like, the spring training camp in Frontier League to, the whole season. There was, I think there was 7 or 8. I can't remember the total number, but it was like a revolving door. We would drive through some town that had an airport. We'd drop some dude off, pick some dude up. And it was, and we had the shittiest bus. Like, you'd think like an all road team, like they would go like, all right, we're going to give you guys a nice bus to ride on all year. No, it was like something. It was like the bus out of Bull Durham, like no AC. It was bad. To put it mildly, it was bad, but it was, the group of us that made it through the whole season, I loved it. Like, I didn't have the greatest squad because, like I said, the revolving door, the camaraderie, and like the team aspect of it wasn't there. But
yeah.
So then, finished up that season. And then at the end of that, right, like 2 weeks before the 09 season, I got an email from the owner of that all road team releasing me through an email, which I thought was pretty wild. So then I started playing with my buddy. I started playing with my buddy again in the summer league, and then the guy from Rockford who I had, done some damage against. He called me up. He's like, "Oh, you're available. Let's, we just had I was a 2-year status guy, which in the Frontier League, you could only have so many on a team.
Yeah.
Called me up and he's like, "You want to come up here for a workout?" Came up there for a workout, signed on the spot, and, played basically the rest of the year with them.
Right on. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that, man. It was a good place to play. I lived in Rockford around that time, so I've lived in this area most of my life, besides playing baseball in college and then in pro ball, and then bouncing around a little bit after my career was over from a couple of my first jobs. But Rockford's a good place, man, and they support the teams there like crazy. And some of the host families have been doing it for over 20 years. That ballpark does not define what the city is. That's the truth right there. And now it's part of the Northwoods League. They're not in the Frontier League anymore. They jumped over to the College Summer League. So we get a little bit different baseball there now.
Is that like with the Quincy Gems?
Nope. That's the CICL. That's the Central Illinois Collegiate League. Yeah. Yeah. This one's with like Dubuque and there's the Kenosha Kingfish.
They go north and out that way.
Yeah. So they get some Michigan, they get some Iowa, and some Wisconsin.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I played in the CICL.
Like the Waterloo Bucks.
Yeah, I played in the CICL for 3 years during my college time. But
who'd you play for?
The Quincy Gems.
Okay, yeah. Hey, you guys got some killer crowds down there.
Oh, that stadium.
Cheap beer night.
Oh yeah, that stadium with the fans that came out from the town. They hold a special place in my heart. I stayed with going back to host families. You said like the host families, like that's what makes. I mean, for the most part, independent ball, college summer ball. Shout out to all the host families out there because they're the ones that make that possible. And I was very fortunate. I had some awesome host families that I still keep into, contact to the day. And, they're part of my family because they,
for sure.
They cheer you on. They hurt when you have an 0 for 4 day, but, it's pretty cool. And, the connections that you make and those people that open up their homes to strangers, and, so it's pretty cool. Yeah,
they're definitely the heroes in the College Summer League. I played a year in the CICL. I played with the Decatur Blues, so I got to play in the greatest city in the CICL.
I don't want to tell you my nickname for the Decatur Blues.
Oh, go for it! Bring it.
The armpit of Illinois.
Oh God, dude, it was. If nobody's familiar with Decatur, Illinois, if the wind's blowing and it's a hot day, it is the largest soybean processing plant in the country, which is owned by the Staleys. So if you're a Chicago Bears fan, Tim Evans, Staley the Bear, that's where it comes from when the Staleys owned the Bears. Dude, I'm telling you, Decatur. Oh, dude, I would wake up at my host family's house. And if the wind was blowing right, you would get woke up at 6 a.m. to that stench, dude. It would just be flowing. It was awful. Yeah, you're 100% right.
No disrespect to anybody in Decatur, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah. There was a lot of fun stuff to do in Decatur. I was a little surprised by that. Some good stuff, good people. But man, that smell. I don't know how anybody lives there their whole life.
They had was the stadium they played in that you guys played in was the Babe, right?
Yeah.
That was the saving grace, like going there playing an old stadium, an historic stadium. No, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I had some fun times there. I got to spend time hanging out with some of the scouts. I'd sit up in the booth there, do the scorebook, things like that. Got to meet some old timer scouts like Brownie, who was the guy who signed Kirby Puckett back in the day. Little old dude who played back in the 30s and 40s himself. Had some amazing stories. I don't know how those guys did it, especially after listening to some of his stories.
Who did you get drafted by? What team?
I got drafted by the Pirates.
Who's the scout? Do you know? Remember?
Dwayne Gustafson.
All right.
Yeah, it was Dwayne Gustafson. Before him, the area scout was Tom Barnard.
I know Tom Barnard. Okay.
Yeah, and you might be thinking of one of the guys that came along later who, back in my day, was actually the Twins guy, and that was Dan Durst.
Oh, Dan Durst. Yeah, he was the Indian. When I was in high school, he was the Indians scout. His brother was with the White Sox.
Yeah.
Dan Durst was one of the guys, obviously, I filled the scout card out for the Indians. I thought, the whole draft day, I thought it was going to be him. I talked to him. Nathan Durst, his brother, had brought the cross checker out one day while I was in school at Brother Rice. And he was like, hey, the day before, he's like, hey, can you come out at like lunchtime and take BP on the field? So like I had to go through the school administration to be like, hey, can I go do this?
Right.
The Durst brothers they're amazing, but Dan Durst, I've had some tough conversations with him. They ran a scout team, and shit, if I could go back and put together all the guys on that scout team from the Chicagoland area, go across I would put us up against anybody in the country. We had guys who were first round picks, third, 10, it was the amount of guys Dan Durst is awesome. And for what he did for me as a high schooler, I couldn't thank him enough. He's a really good dude.
Yeah, for sure. The baseball world came full circle for me with him. He was one of the first guys to have me fill out the scouting cards and stuff like that, all the way to the point. He followed me through my career, ran into me after my career was over and stuff, hooked me up with doing lessons and going out with him to different areas, different facilities, doing lessons. And
awesome.
Then later I ended up coaching his son for travel ball.
Shit.
I worked with his son Peyton all the way through travel ball and up
awesome.
to him going into college. So it was kind of crazy how that worked out,
Yeah.
Baseball community is a small little world.
Yeah, going back to those, they called it the scout team, and it was basically just, what it was. All the area scouts came together, and there was it may have been Tom Barnard from the Pirates, because there was a Pirates guy, and then there was Dan Durst, Nathan Durst, Billy Milos, who ended up drafting me. But it was just, they all came together and they put this squad together, and we went up to Willowbrook High School, I think it was, and we always practiced up there a few times a week. And oh man, it was, I just remember teams coming in to play us, and playing right field behind guys like Chris Honnell, who played in the Catholic League with me, and I knew when he got on the mound, I'm like, all right, it's a wood bat deal, and I'm like, there ain't no way him. And I'd look over at our center fielder and be like, we can basically put our gloves down because this guy's going to just strike everybody out. And that's what happened. And we just ran.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my dad the other day because somebody on Facebook posted a picture of the 01 Southtown, the Chicago Southtown paper from, the all area team. And they tagged everybody.
Geez.
And we're all reminiscing, and we're like, oh shit. I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, and he mentioned, he's like, oh, it would have been cool if you guys would have been traveling around the country playing as a group, because the amount of guys there, the talent that we had was, from the Midwest. Everyone says
for
Florida, sure. Florida and Texas, is where the crop's at of talent pool. But I feel like we could have played with anybody, and that's the competitive.
Oh yeah, There was a very strong point when Illinois was the hotbed of baseball talent, and when it ran through the early 90s through the mid 2000s, cooled off a little bit, but it's starting to pick up a little bit more again. Not to the level that it was, in that time, your time to back to when I was playing. I mean, going to some of those summer workout camps and scout camps, man, the level of talent that you saw walk through there. I mean, I remember one of those deals. It was after my freshman year of high school. I was out there, and when they send guys home and keep some guys to pitch, and you have guys that they keep to hit and stuff, and it runs anywhere from high school guys to college guys to guys who have been released that are looking to get picked back up.
Yeah.
There were 3 of us that went out there pitching in a row. All of us had just finished our freshman year of high school, and every single one of us was throwing 93 or better. It was ridiculous, you know. Fast forward a couple years, and you know, all of us are playing minor league ball and playing against each other. It was crazy, but I mean, just that level of talent that you see,
right?
It blew me away.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to switch it up again. We're going to get to your Giants days here. Mike Stahl's been patiently waiting now, you know, for a whole 50 minutes, Mike. But do you know Will Clark?
No, I know him. I've met him. I've hung out with him a bunch. I have his phone number. Like, if I want to drop those out, like, you know, give him a call. He might answer. I might not. I could, you know, do it while we're live. I won't, because I don't know. But I do have a really cool Will Clark story.
Yeah, bring it.
So 2010, let's backtrack. So 2009, real quick, I get released by the Riverhawks, Rockford, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, your hometown team. They're in the Frontier League. And I kind of decided this is it for me. Like, I'm hanging them up. Like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So I figure out that the baseball winter meetings are in Indianapolis, which is just a skip away from Chicago.
Yep.
So I sign up to go to the winter meetings, and there's like this whole career convention, you know, product deal, like the whole 9 yards. That you can go there and sign up for a bunch of stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna go see what it brings. I want a job in baseball. So I go through it was like this new product convention thing where everyone's got a booth with like their new thing they were trying to sell to like the minor league teams, to the professional, you know, everything. So we're going through. I got a buddy that went with me from my Midwest Sliders days from Pennsylvania. He met me out there, and basically we're at the hotel after hours with, you know, all the big names from like ESPN, and, you know, it's like an after party. It's like you got managers there, you got, you know, it's crazy. So we run into this couple from Portland, Oregon, and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing here?" Like, "Oh, we're just trying to network. We're trying to get a new, you know, job." Like, they asked me where I'm from. I'm from Chicago, and they're like, "Oh, well, like we have this booth at the convention, and, you know, we're selling these little trinket things or they have like an MLB logo on them, whatever." And but this guy next to us has this really cool thing, and he's from the suburbs of Chicago. Like, come by tomorrow and meet us. And I'm like, all right, cool. So they're going to introduce me to this whoever it is from Chicago. So the next day I go back to the convention. The people from Chicago had already cleared their booth out and left. And the people, the guys that we met were like, "Oh, well, give us your resume. We'll pass it along. We got their contact information." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Give my resume. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from iTraq, which they had they were working with 4 major league teams at the time, but basically it's a vision training pitching machine that shoots tennis balls. Each tennis ball is numbered 0 through 8, red and black, up to 140 miles an hour. So they had this like intellectual property, and it was like a program that helped hitters track the ball, see the ball to contact, early pitch recognition. I thought it was pretty cool. And he's like, "Yeah, do you want to come up? We got your resume. Somebody handed it to us. Do you want to come, you know, check out our facility?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I go up to their facility. They run me through this iTraq machine, and they're like, "All right, we'll get you certified to work at our facility." So I'm like, "All right, great." So I got a job. I'm all pumped. And then about like 2 weeks later, after getting certified, they're like, hey, the guy that works with the Giants has some family issue. He can't go to Arizona. Do you want to be our big league, vision trainer with iTraq for the Giants? I was like, absolutely 100%. So they sent me down to Arizona, and after the first week, I'm like trying to figure out what I'm doing, and when the guys are getting down to the cage for like their early workouts, and then I realize I'm trying to get down there early, but the one guy that's beating me to the cage every morning is Will Clark. So
nice.
I'm like, okay, I got to step my game up. I got to get there earlier and set up my cage. And the Giants down there in Scottsdale, they have 6 or 8 cages from what I remember. And I had my iTraq machine in one of the cages. I get it set up, but he was always down. The first guy down there was Will Clark. And I decided, all right, I'm going to beat him. Tomorrow, I'm going to beat him down here. So I beat him down there. I set up my cage, and I'm sitting there waiting. And he comes in and, says hello, good morning. And he gets into the cage, sets up a tee, and he starts hitting off of it. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna walk into the cage and I'm gonna start feeding the tee for him. So, for obviously most people on this, listening to you, like, somebody to feed the tee for you, like, it's cool, right? Like, you have somebody working with, you're usually working with somebody, not usually on your own. So I go in there and I'm like, hey, I got you. There's somebody here. I'll start feeding the tee. So for like 3 weeks, I beat him to the cage. I'm feeding the tee for him. And it's just a conversation about hitting. And it was one of to start off working with an organization, like, it was one of the coolest things that I can't, it's hard to explain, but getting his perspective, the career that he had, it was surreal, basically. And then he was asking me, like, what I look for, how I work in, if I'm working off a tee, and then how players nowadays do it. And he's like trying to say, like, oh, they should do it this way because that's the way I did it. And obviously it worked. And
right.
It was mind boggling that, so I had that time. It was almost like, whatever that movie was, Tuesdays with Maury. Like, it was my morning.
Oh yeah.
It was my mornings with Will Clark, and it was just him and I for like 30 minutes. Him hitting off a tee, and this was in 2010, 2011, and I'm sitting there feeding the tee, and we're just talking baseball, kind of like you and I are now. Like, it's
yeah,
something that you and I dream of. Like,
mm-hmm.
But Will Clark was, didn't think of me as anybody that shouldn't have been there, like big league me. He treated me like
right.
I was an equal, which was that was like a turning point, because, like, for me, going down to Arizona, I played independent ball. I wasn't in an organization like you were. I could have been. I could have signed out of high school with the Twins, but I didn't. And there was a little part of me that felt like I didn't belong, right? So it was like that light. He was like that light switch for me, where it was like, you're here, you're wearing the Giants gear, like that. Mike Murphy, the legendary clubby for, the Giants, was like, yeah, here's your packet. Like, what size are you? XL? Like, here, take it. Like, and it was just everything.
Yeah, you can't beat those days when you get that stuff given to you.
Right, and it was
that moment.
That was awesome in itself. But then, Will Clark just validating, my existence there. It was a turning point, because then I started, looking at guys like, Aubrey Huff, Pat Burrell, Buster Posey. He loved working with the iTraq machine. Andres Torres that year. It validated me to be like, all right, you belong. You're here for a reason. Like, you have, this reason. So go out and speak. Because before I was kind of like, hey, I'm here if you guys want to work with me. And then all of a sudden, that happened, and I was like, all right, let's go. And it was he was, a light switch for me, especially in, having a voice and, working with those guys at that level. So yeah, Will Clark is awesome. And no, Mike, he didn't have me call him Thrill. But no, it was very, very, very casual, and just, it was very cool. And I got to tell him about, one of my best friends from growing up, was a huge Will Clark fan. So wrap your head around this. Two kids from the south side of Chicago, huge baseball fans. One was a huge Will Clark fan, and then you got I'm going to go dumbass, was a huge Jose Canseco fan.
Hey, man, he was ripped. He hit bombs. He was on the cover of every magazine. How could you not like Jose?
So you had two South Side Chicago fans who were just like, we love these two Bay Area, icons. And I told him that story, and he loved it. So it was cool to tell him that, but yeah.
So here's a common question we also get from Lord Schlong himself. He always asks, what was your favorite brand of lingerie to wear under your uniform via Durham Bulls?
I mean, Victoria's Secret, obviously.
Boom! There you go.
I mean, I couldn't have been in
keeping it real.
I couldn't have been in a worse slump. I mean, you got to go. If you're trying to get out of a slump, you got to go the name brand. Even though I wasn't Nuke Lelouch on the mound, but not that I ever wore lingerie, but for sake of the question, I'll throw it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Lingerie, definitely better than going hunting after hours. Let me put it that way.
That's right.
Yeah, don't want to go on that boat. Only so many harpoons on that boat in your career, let me tell you. You can all take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
So we got that story. When you were there, you spent how many years you spent with them? 2 years working with the Giants then?
2010, 2011.
That's awesome. Well, what would you say is another great memory or another great story that you got that's a memory from that time being with Giants and the major league team and working at the minor league facility and everything else during spring training?
God, I mean, I got a lot. I mean, flying on a big league plane, like I said, I got three brothers. The four of us, it was baseball, right? Being on a plane on the big league plane with the players, the staff was amazing. You got the flight attendants, they looked at me, and I was, 27, 28 at the time. I could have been a player, like appearance wise, definitely wasn't ability wise, but the way they treated you was awesome. The bus to the airport. Now this, people think like, oh, what do you mean the bus to the airport? So the going through security at the airport, right?
TSA.
You normally go through that. Well, TSA comes to AT&T Park for big leaguers. So after a game, we're like, hey, we're traveling. It was spring. It was the last day of spring training. So we were up in San Francisco playing the A's, and they're like, hey, we're going to Houston to open up the 2010 season. They're like, you're traveling with us. I'm like, all right, cool. And they're like, all right, well, we're flying. We're leaving from the stadium. I'm like, all right, cool. So TSA comes to the stadium, checks you all out before you get on the bus, and they take you to the airport. You drive right onto the runway. Well, being one of the low-level staffers that I was, I get on the bus first. I sit kind of right in the middle. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to sit. I sit down. I'm down. I'm on my phone, and then all of a sudden I hear a voice, and I'm like, "That's John Miller." And,
oh wow!
Yeah, he was 2 rows in front of me, and he's just. And I'm thinking like I'm listening to Sunday Night Baseball, right? And it's that voice, and he's talking to somebody across the aisle about anything, but it's the iconic voice of John Miller. So that's one thing that it's like literally burned in my memory, was him. And I spoke with him a few times, like in a dugout before the games would start, but that was my first interaction with him. And it was, John Miller's Sunday Night Baseball, iconic. That's one of the coolest memories I have outside of Will Clark. So
that's awesome. So this question will be a little different for you than most guys. I ask this question all the time. Who's the most talented player you ever played with? So for you, I'll pose as who is the most talented player you ever played with or got to coach?
Played with or coached. I mean, it's easy for me to be like, because some of the guys that I trained or coached with, the Giants, to pick one of them.
Right.
Buster Posey, he was a guy that always wanted to use the iTraq machine with me. His work ethic blew me away because guys outside of the cage would usually be sitting there joking around, talking about whatever. But you see him Buster Posey outside of a cage, he had a purpose, and it was, breaking down his swing literally section by section. And it was one of the most mind-blowing things. I saw it at that level. I was like, oh, that's the reason why he's here, is because he was dedicated to that. And it was just, not in a batting cage, but it was outside of a cage, literally where nothing's going on. And he was just doing these loads, strides, seeing where his hands were. That was, as a coach, that's what I've preached, since 2010, seeing him do that. I've preached that to every kid I've worked with. And I work with high school kids, little league kids. I coached my daughter's 8U softball team this year. And
nice.
Not that they know who Buster Posey is, maybe one of them did, but that's what I was starting from that spot, this is where you need to be. It doesn't start when it's one of those things, but so coached him, yes, maybe Buster Posey. I'd have to give it to him because of his work ethic and just how unbelievable he was. But talented. There was a guy at FAU the year I transferred there, and it was kind of he was a right fielder, I was a right fielder. Out of high school, I think he was a 20th or 21st round pick. I was drafted. I was the first pick in the 20th round. He was shortly after I was, and then out of college, he was a 3rd round pick from the Orioles. His name was Jeff Fiorentino, and watching him, work when I got to FAU, I was like, all right, this is the guy I'm up against. I always compared myself to him, and how I could try to, match his athleticism. And credit to him, he got drafted in the 3rd round. I think he was the first position player from that draft pick to make it to the big leagues, and had a decent career. Played over in Japan for a year, and but he was a guy that I was always like, all right, that's the guy I need to. If I want to be something, I got to beat him. So played with, he takes the cake for sure.
Nice. So next question, and I'll wrap up baseball with this. Then we'll get to some of the fun stuff. Who was the best coach you ever played for? Whether it was pro ball, or college, high school, whichever one it was for you.
I got to go with Kevin Cooney, Florida Atlantic.
Nice.
The relationship we had, where he brought me in, and his assistant Kevin McCormick, so it went from Kevin Cooney had the job for I don't know how many, it was 15 years maybe. It transferred from him to his assistant John McCormack, and he's got the job now, and he's ranking up the college wins. But Kevin Cooney was a guy that brought me in, like I said, sight unseen, gave me the scholarship that was on the table, on the word of a scout. And the way he treated me, it was like one of his kids. Jim
awesome.
Brownlee, it's so hard because I played for Jim for 1 year, and then he left Illinois State. So I love the Brownlee family. You know, Tim, and I played for Ryan Brownlee at Quincy in the CICL. The Brownlee family holds, you know, a special place in my heart. But Kevin Cooney, for what he taught me, it's for what he did for college baseball and for that school. I mean, you think about Florida Atlantic and the other schools that are in Florida, like Miami, Florida State, UCF, Stetson. It's a hotbed for college baseball. Like
100%. You didn't even name any of the junior colleges that are knocking out top 10 picks left and right.
Jacksonville was awesome. Rollins College, I never know what division they're in, but they have an awesome program.
They were D2.
Right. Yeah.
They were D2, and they always ran like the big spring kickoff tournament. Stetson would be there. I played down there in that when I was with Evansville.
So
they always brought in like the top schools. Dude, they always had talent at that school. If you would have been told it was a D2 school, you would have never believed it with the guys that they marched out on that field.
All right, quick story. So, heavy freshman or sophomore, I can't remember. I was at Evansville, opened up at the Rollins tournament, and my parents came down from Chicago to see the tournament, obviously to get away from the snow. And we were playing Rollins College, and we had the first base dugout. I'm on deck. My dad is sitting like in the front row, like right by the on deck circle, and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "he has started every lefty. I'm a lefty hitter. He has started every lefty off with a breaking ball. Look, breaking ball, first pitch." I'm like, "All right, yeah, whatever." Tip my cap to him. First pitch breaking ball, I put off the scoreboard in right field, and to this day, my dad has probably told that story 10,000 times. Loves it. Like he's told me like I wasn't there. He's told me that story, and it's that's my for as far as Rollins College goes, like as being from UE, but it was a pretty cool father-son baseball moment, to say the least.
Oh yeah, that's definitely better than my Rollins College story with my mom and my aunt Jim Brownlee. So you take the cake on that one. I'll give you a little enlightenment on that. I got brought into the game to close the game. We had runners on first and third. First batter, I got behind him 0-2. The 2-0 pitch, I took him buried in the dirt. Runner advanced to second. Brownlee steps out of the dugout, and you know how loud that dude can be. He just yells out to the mound. Doesn't even take the time to walk out to the mound. Just walks partway out of the dugout, looks at me, and screams at the top of his lungs, "Quit pissing down your fucking leg!" I struck the next three guys out. Game over.
Hey.
And to this day, my mom, like your dad, always tells that story of, "I'll never forget when Chris was out there. We went to see him play, and we got there late, and the first thing I hear is his coach yelling at him, going, 'Quit pissing down your fucking leg.'" And she still tells that story. So yeah, Rollins College stories with Jim Brownlee. That could be another podcast.
That's awesome. The one thing I remember from him was showing up to like a fall workout, like 5 minutes before. It wasn't a workout. It was like a conditioning thing. It's some off field somewhere. We're supposed to run around until we puke, basically. And we show up, the other three freshmen I was with, and he's like, "What time is it?" And it was like, we were supposed to be there at 6. I'm like, "Oh, it's 5:55." And he's like, at the Evans, this practice here, he goes, it's Lombardi time. 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late.
Early.
I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So to this day, like I'm telling my kids, like we're going out somewhere, I'm like, "Hey, 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late." That's from JB. Like it's
Thanks, Shane.
When he took that job at ISU, when he took that job at ISU, it broke my heart, because I thought I was playing 3 years for him and his staff, and Billy Milos from the area, like from the Twins, would still be on my radar, and it was all going to work out. But he had to do his thing. He went back. He played. I think he played. He was from.
He played at ISU and won a College World Series there as a player.
Yeah. So he went back home, and I get that, and I just that my sophomore year against them at ISU in a 4-game series, I hit 2 bombs against them, and I made sure he knew about it.
Nice, yeah. And if I would have been in that situation, me and him had one of those special love-hate relationships. Sure you're familiar with some of his pep talks as a freshman when he put you all in the the Roberts Stadium little room there by the weight room, and would like to tell his stories about how you needed to get it together and we need to play better, and then goes into a spiel, there's no I in team and all that stuff. And I'm the famous jackass the first time he's told that story that raised my hand. He's walking around and he was like, what the hell do you want? I'm like, you said there's no I in team, but there's definitely an M and an E. I pointed at myself. He's like, everybody in the room just got super quiet. And I'm sitting there laughing, thinking it was the greatest thing ever.
Of course.
Yeah. 3 weeks of 5 a.m. runs with Jim Brownlee out on the track.
I'm sure that
was fun. It was. There was a couple mornings, if Jim liked to have some late night benders at the Trial Club. He definitely had one of those special moments during one of those 5 a.m. runs where the only thing holding him up was the railing at Roberts Stadium while he was trying to hold on to his coffee. Yeah. Good old times with Jim.
Yeah.
I got plenty of stories. I could honestly have that Jim Brownlee podcast. It'd be pretty fun.
He'd be gold for this.
Oh, he would. He absolutely would. He's a trip, man. He's still a trip to this day. That guy still cracks me up. He took in him and Tim bought a travel baseball tournament series out here. So that's what they do now.
Oh, really?
They run travel baseball tournaments. Yeah, him and Butch. Oh, busting the Elijah Craig. What are you busting into?
The barrel proof.
Which one you got?
The C920.
You're not going to bust out a B521 or an A121 for us?
I don't have that right now. If I had it.
You don't have that?
If I had it, it would be here. These are my,
your go-tos.
This is the gold standard right here. Like I got the Old Fits, I got the Angels Envy Cellar Collection from 2020.
Yeah.
Got that one. I got
a good one.
I got the Weller 107 barrel pick.
Nice.
What else I got over here? I know you got a bottle of this, the barreled up.
Oh yeah.
Light whiskey.
Yeah. I can't wait for the next stuff we got coming down with that.
So
exciting.
I'm pumped about the one from the Elijah Craig barrel proof single barrel. Like,
yeah.
All right, here's the thing. I sell that stuff, right? And I was told that they don't do when you do a barrel pick for a store, they don't do barrel proof.
Right. So that's something new that came out this year. This is the first year they're doing that.
So
that's why.
I got to get on my supplier, and I will.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had an account that did two barrel selects for Elijah Craig, but they're just the normal small batch. And their first question was, well, can we get barrel proof? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll check. And I was told no. This was back in, I think July, August of last year. So if it's new,
yeah,
I get it.
Yep, it's new in 2021. Yep.
Okay, so I'm looking forward because I have an account that will buy, like I don't know if you saw my picture earlier that I posted on our group, but the Angels
I did.
And it's
those little copper flasks were badass.
And just so you know, I got one.
Did you? That's awesome.
That was awesome. I was hesitant to ask the guy. I was like, "Can I get one?" But I asked the question. He's like, "Yeah, it's your product. If you want one, you get one." So I was like, "All right, cool." So today I left the store, talked to my supplier from Heaven Hill, who's doing the Heaven Hill bottle and bond, old fits. So my supplier basically, he's like, you think if we give him a couple extra cases of old fits, if he would hold one aside for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I was like, I'll run back in there because I was just in there. I'm like, I'll run back in there and talk to him about it. So I walk back in there, and the guy's like, hey, I'm about to taste the Angel's Envy barrels that you gave me. Do you want to come back and taste them? So that picture I sent you was back in their cellar room, and did 3 Angel's Envy, private barrel, single barrels, and then 3 Blantons, and they were, that was for a Thursday. It was a good day. Yeah,
that's a good way. That's a good way to head into a Friday, man. Finishing up your day that way, you can't go wrong.
So, but he told me, he's like, he goes, when we finish these, he had 3 or 4 more staff members that were going to try the Angel's Envy. And he goes, once we go through that, he goes, you can come by and pick up one of those copper flasks. So I was like, that's all I need is one. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty pumped.
That was a nice little setup from that picture there that you were showing.
Yeah.
Also a little excited about that.
Yeah, that's for our group. It's going to be we should have some good juice coming our way. Yeah.
I'm never going to say no to that. Never going to say a bottle that costs over $45 is expensive.
No, absolutely not.
I just had to get that one in there. You know why? Had to get that one in there. But so are there any interesting or new products that you know about that are coming down the line from the Heaven Hill distillery? Now, I've heard that Heaven Hill does have a new finished product coming out later this year. That's going to be the Elijah Craig that was finished in the Bourbon County Stout barrels. Oh. Any idea when that's coming out?
Yeah, it's probably a fall release.
Okay.
Haven't gotten the email through my my company email about that yet, but it sounds like a fall release. Angel's Envy they had a Madeira finish. They have the port, the rum cask, for the rye, the port for the regular bourbon, and the rum for the rye finish. But they have a Madeira one that's out there that's available.
Okay.
That's hitting stores. That's supposed to be great. Everything Angel's Envy, I am like, give me whatever you got. I have accounts that will buy up anything as far as that. But as far as Heaven Hill, that's the you're breaking news on your own channel on that one. It doesn't surprise me that if I'm going to get an email on something, it's going to be like the week of.
Okay.
But yeah, so if something like that happens, hit me up. Like we'll have an inside track. I got plenty of accounts that'll get if it's allocated. I think have you done like raffles before on your channel?
Yeah, definitely. We did one last week. We actually gave away one of your products. We gave away Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel.
Okay. Well, I saw that and I was like, I wasn't sure. I wish I would have reached out to you to do. We can do for your next one if you want to do something. We can, contact me and we can pick out a bottle.
Okay.
And, raffle something off.
Yeah. Dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I got the Angels, the Elijah Craig Rye, which I am personally like a huge fan.
Yeah.
Of.
Got one of those around here somewhere. Yeah, these are great picks, man.
Yeah,
it kind of drinks at that in between more like a burr rye than just a rye.
Right. It's only 51. It's only 51%.
Right.
But for what Elijah Craig throws out there. I love it. Got a care. I'm just gonna pull this up right here because I got it sitting right here, but I got a case of it.
Yeah.
I had an account that was like, I'll take 40 cases. I was like, wait, 40? You sure?
Dang.
Like, oh yeah. But they do email blasts and stuff, and I was like, all right. So I worked out a deal and got a case of it. But yeah, if you want to do something, we'll talk about what I got, and we can do an email or a raffle blast or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be really awesome.
I wish we'd have done it for this, but next time we can.
Yeah. Hey, I'll bring you on for it when we do it. You
Okay.
can jump on too. I can have 10 guys on here at once. We'll definitely do that.
Okay.
I got a bunch of guys in this chat here that definitely have been picking up the EC18s left and right in their areas this year. You know how fun that is to try to get in the Chicago area, let me tell you. But we got a couple guys in the group here that pick them up left and right. I've been lucky enough to get some samples of that. And I'll tell you what, that's not too bad for a 90 proofer. I didn't expect it to drink as well as it did, but I was pleasantly surprised with it at 90 proof.
Yeah, no, I got one. I finally got one of those as well. And it's tasty. It's fucking for what it is. Man, that would be we could raffle off one of those if I can straggle out one of those. We can. I don't know what your raffle process looks like, but let's talk about that in the future.
Yeah, for sure. That would be pretty awesome. I know everybody would jump on that one for sure. It'd be pretty nuts. Nope. Lord Schlong says, I will never drink EC18 again for the ridiculous price. It's not that bad of a price for an 18-year. I've seen a lot worse. But if you get it on the secondary, oh, man, it's awful.
Did you get a bottle or did you?
Did I? No, I didn't get one this go round. I missed out. I got there when a guy just got the last one up here. Okay. I've seen the price. It's went up over the last couple of years. I remember when it was $129 at that price, not bad. This year it was $149, but I've walked into places where they have it on the shelf. There's a place here in Rockford that has it on the shelf and it's $499.
That's a trophy. It's like, here you go, here's your trophy. Like
yeah. And there's another one that's got it on the shelf for $299.95.
Right.
I walk in, I see it staring at me. The same place had the toasted barrel. You're gonna love this. They had that for $199.99 sitting on the shelf. I was dying when I saw that. They had the new barrel proof B521. That was $149.99. I was just sitting there shaking my head. I'm like, yeah, cool, thanks. The same store I had been in 2 months previous. And the guy went in the back and brought me out a C919 and sold it to me for $80. So I thought this was going to be a good store. And I go back in and I see this and I'm like, what the?
Well, that's the like, all right. I'm a salesman, right? Like that's what I'm at now. Like I work for a distributor. You sell it to an account for a certain price. And for all the average products, it's like a 20 or 25, maybe a 30%, depending on the area, a 30% markup. Then you get into these allocated items, and I know some of them come with a certain clout where you have to mark it up. And I get that. There are some guys that take advantage of it, and they'll put it on their shelf for this astronomical amount, and it's their trophy. It's like, hey, I have this account. I was allocated this bottle. It's on my shelf. If you want it, it's there, but you're paying that price.
Right.
And for me, it's like, I sold it to you for like $50 and you're like asking $400. Like, it's nuts. To the retailer, they don't see the middle side of it. It hurts me, but
right.
I have one account and they are true to the retailer. They don't want to gouge anybody. They would, and here's the thing, like, if a count down the street sells the same amount of X product, if you're going to get allocated the same amount, they'll mark it up 20%. But the account down the street's marking it up like 500%.
Right. And one of our good guys on the channel, he's got a good question for you when it comes to allocated. He said, "Can you talk about the highly allocated items where you are essentially told to tell stores they have to sell over SRP or they won't get it again?" Is that true?
Oh, I've never been told that. No, basically it's almost the opposite, where if the supplier finds out, because the supplier sells it to my company at a certain price, and the supplier still has a hand on it to where they can be like, all right, we'll release it to X, Y, and Z accounts. They really don't want to see the retailer taking advantage of the customer. That would be, yeah. I've never had that been told to me. Especially you won't get it again. Yeah.
Okay. See, yeah. He's out in New York in the Long Island area. So some things are different in different areas for sure, because that market is very saturated. I didn't realize how many liquor stores were out in that area, but he has enlightened me greatly on that, and it's pretty crazy.
No, I've never. I reread the question. I've never had a supplier tell me that a customer has to sell it higher. They're in my area, and this is in the Bay Area. They're usually like, they walk into an account and they see their product and it's marked up 500%. 5 times what cut. They're like, well, I'm not gonna give them another bottle if they ask for it. Like, they're more pit out here. The suppliers that I deal with, they're more pissed when they see that. They won't go to the supply. They won't go to the store and say it, but they'll tell me that. And right. I kind of like read between the lines, like, all right, well, if a guy asks me, hey, you got any more, Henry McKenna 10-year? I'm like, well, let me think about that. Whereas if a guy sells it for normal market value, which is like 20 to 30% more, I usually tell him, like, yeah, like I'll call my guy and see if I can get you, a few more cases. But out here, they don't typically like it when you sell it when you gouge the consumer. They want them to turn and burn it. So
yeah. And Marty from Whiskey Nose asked us, Heaven Hill makes stores sell other items in order to get highly allocated items such as Parker's Heritage and the old Fitz's.
Yes, that has been a long, a practice that has been over the last 15, 20 years. It's usually been, and there's ABC law, which you can't make somebody buy something to get something else. This is all changing. Usually there's a combo where it's like, hey, you got to buy, 10 cases of Elijah Craig small batch to get the barrel proof, or 1 case of barrel proof, or 1 case of 18-year.
Okay.
Like, if you go by ABC law, you can't do that. So there's a lot that's changing. It's going to happen. There's some suppliers that are dragging their feet on it, but as far as my company goes, we've X'd all that out. It used to, like Angel's Envy Rye. If you want 1 case of Angel's Envy Rye, you had to buy 3 to 6 cases of the bourbon, right?
Okay.
Well, the rye was only released a few times a year. If a guy just bought bourbon, he might not need it. No more. That shouldn't be the case. In California, it's not the case. We've completely switched gears, and you're not allowed to legally ask an account to be like, oh, you need to buy 100 cases of Burnett's vodka, which is like the bottom shelf vodka, to get, 1 case of Larceny barrel proof. Right.
Right.
That practice is dying, to say the least. Yeah. So to answer his question, it was always like that. I mean, for my first 4 or 5 years in selling, it was always like, hey, what can you do if you want this, what are you going to do for me? And it was mostly like, let me grab this real quick. You want black velvet apple?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, anybody out there, I'm sorry that's affiliated with black velvet, but it was a thing. I'm not saying they did it, but it was products like that where it was like, if you want this, bring in, give me a placement of whatever flavor Bacardi is putting out there.
Right.
All the suppliers, this is across the board, whether it's Jim Beam, Bacardi, Heaven Hill, Campari, all the big suppliers across the board, they're all changing their gears to be ABC compliant, which is the big word. So, yeah, stores should start to be like, all right, well, this is what I want to buy this, but I don't want to buy 1,000 cases of that. If that makes
right.
sense.
Oh, 100%. So I'm gonna throw another one out there, just to get a little perspective on it. We've all been talking Parker Heritage at the beginning stuff. So you've seen it. How many bottles of that do you see a year that get distributed in your area?
So backtrack, I started selling Heaven Hill last June or July. So it's almost been a year. I've personally sold into my accounts this is the North Bay. So for people that don't know, like my territory is basically from the Golden Gate Bridge up to Healdsburg, which is about give or take 60 miles. That's my territory. I've sold maybe 4 or 5 cases.
Okay.
So
that's a good amount of it hitting the streets, though. I mean,
right. The Bay Area is a big hotbed for allocated items. It is, and
yeah,
I have some of the bigger, retail stores. My territory is made up of half, 60-40, 60 off sale accounts. So it's liquor stores, like mom and pop liquor stores and grocery stores, and then 40% restaurants and bars.
Okay. So Bourbon comes in with another question that we've been talking about lately. How much of the allocated items go to the restaurants first instead of the stores?
It's the same equation, really. Like, it depends on how much they buy, and it depends on the supplier. Not so my boss, but the guy that has the key to these allocated items.
Right.
What he feels like they deserve. And that's where, before it was always, how much do you buy? And how much am I going to give you? Like, can you, in your can you put, Burnett's or Evan Williams, stuff like that, or Admiral Nelson. Like in Heaven Hill, there's Admiral Nelson rum, which
right,
the lower brand of, Captain Morgan. So if we can get the all right, you can qualify for X amount of allocated items. That was always the case. Now it's, the relationships,
long-standing relationships. Yeah. Who's taking care of who over all the years?
Right.
Some, has this person been here 20 years and been a great customer and always taking care of us back and forth? Yeah.
So
that totally makes sense.
You'll see those restaurants that have, Pappy, which I don't sell, but they'll have Pappy on the menu, and it'll be X amount of dollars a shot or a glass. It's if you look in the well, you'll see the comparison to that supplier. Usually that's the case. If makes any sense.
We're done. Right on. All right, man. So I'm going to give you my couple of fun wrap-up questions that I normally do. What is the best piece of advice you have for anybody that is playing baseball, or for a mom and dad for their kid who's playing sports or playing baseball to further advance their career?
Advice I have for, I'm going to go with, little leaguers or high schoolers. Like, if you think you're working hard enough, you could probably find somebody in your area that's working harder. And it's not more about like your physical ability or the guy you're getting lessons from, and it's like instruction, but it's mental. If you want to make it to the college ranks and the pro ranks in baseball, it's what you want out of it, and it's mentally. Like the way I run some of my lessons is not so much, hey, have your hands here, have your feet here. It's what do you want out of as a result? What do you want? And I have felt over the past 10, 15 years, the kids I've worked with, getting into their head, it's result based. So, say you're working off a tee with a 12-year-old, and he takes 5 or 6 swings and he's rolled over on 3 or 4 of them. Have an idea of where you want that ball to go, pitch, wise. It's more mental for me. Like if I would have gone back, rewind, 20 years, I feel like if I would have started to focus mentally what I wanted, what I wanted my body to do, I feel like I would have performed better. So yeah, it's more mental, and it's listening to your coaches and what they want you to do rather than what they're, telling your body to do. If that makes any, it's weird. I know if it makes any sense. I don't know.
No, it does. It does. When you're doing that mental preparation, and the visualization and everything else, it changes how you play. It changes how you perform. And like you talked about, the way the game has progressed and the training and everything else going on, we have athletes that move better. We have athletes that are being taught about biomechanics and kinesiology and how to get the most out of their bodies. So, if you can start telling yourself or telling the kid at a young age how to move through space and get their body right, it makes the biggest difference. If you've got everything moving in the right direction, it's going to be a lot easier to hit a ball. It's going to be a lot easier to throw the ball. So, you said it right there. You get in the head, and it starts in the head and it finishes that way too,
Yeah, no, it's as a hitter, before you even start out of the dugout, if you don't know what the pitcher's throwing, you're at a disadvantage. And that's, Little League. Like I've taken I have 2 daughters, 7 and 3, almost, she'll be 3 on Saturday. I've taken them to Little League games, and you've seen Little Leaguers throw, fastballs and changeups or fastballs and curveballs. Like there's 2 pitches in Little League, the majors division. If you don't know that before you step out the dugout, you're already at a disadvantage, let alone high school, college. I mean, I coached at, Robert Morris in Chicago, NAIA school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I preached was your at bat starts as soon as that pitcher takes the mound and he starts doing, here's my fastball, here's my curveball, here's my changeup. Like, if you know that, you're not getting in the box and be like, I don't know what this guy throws. But it goes down to Little League. Like if you can figure out, he throws 2 pitches and these are what they are, like you have an idea. And you get those special kids that can dial in mentally and be like, all right, well, that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, for all the parents out there teaching their kids, like it's way more mental than it is physical. And if you have coaches, hitting coaches, pitching coaches that are teaching your kids, ask those questions. Be involved with those coaches teaching your kids, because you're paying the money. Like, you should know. And I've always encouraged my kids' parents to be like, if you have any questions, let me know, because that's what I don't want to be on a different page than the parent, because then the kid's gonna get
for sure.
So
for sure, because when you're doing private training, you're working with a kid, 1 or 2 times a week, anywhere from a half hour to an hour a week, and mom and dad, they're the real coaches. So we any good coach, if you have a coach or a trainer who doesn't want you to be around, go somewhere else, because there's no big hidden secrets in this game. The only hidden secret is they don't know what the hell they're talking about if they don't want you as a parent to hear what they're talking about. Because at the end of the day, you're the coach at home 6-7 days a week. You might have your kid 1 day a week. You're the coach the other 6 days of the week.
That's the number one thing that I tell parents. Like don't drop your kid off at a lesson and then walk away. Like, stay here, learn it too, because then you can teach it as well. And that's, I remember when I first transferred down to FAU, going back real quick, was struggling early on in the season in 2004. My parents came down for a tournament, and early on in the day, I didn't have classes. So I grabbed a bucket of balls. My dad and I went out the cage and worked for an hour and a half. And I just worked with him. Like, I had worked with my head coach at FAU, the hitting coach, everybody. Worked with him for an hour and a half and had the best weekend of hitting in my college career. And the coach at FAU made a joke to my dad, was like, "Hey, can we hire you?" Like, it's a real thing. The parents of the kids know the kids swing the best, or the pitching, mechanics the best. Your kid. Like, trust it. Build off of it from the guy you're paying, but it's don't drop your kid. Number one lesson: don't drop your kid off at a lesson and walk away. Sit there, listen, and when you have the kid the other 5 days of the week, hammer those same points with your kid, because that'll get them better the best.
Right on. And our resident gentlemen who were part of our little event in South Carolina recently, the Schlammering, are all pining for you to bottle chug.
Bottle chug what?
Bottle anything you want. Stahl's throwing it out there that if you bottle chug something out of your collection, he will send you one of his shirts. Oh. I survived live wire whiskey.
All right, Chris, have you done this?
Yeah. I did this live on a live stream quite a few times. We are actually all together down in South Carolina, and we did a live stream on a Saturday night. There were 10 of us down there, and unfortunately, the bottle that we chugged was Tin Cup. We also did a McKenna. You'll like that. We busted out an old McKenna from 2016, and we did bottle chugs on that down the line until we actually killed the bottle. Oh, yeah.
A full bottle. Oh, jeez. Nuts.
Oh, you don't have to do a full bottle. They're fucking with you if they're saying full bottle. They're just asking you to take a hit off a bottle and chug it.
I'll take a hit off a bottle. All right. I'm gonna crack this one for you. It's not all right. Does it have to be bourbon?
I don't know. Hey guys, does it have to be bourbon? I mean, we've seen worse things like Malort.
It's Canadian whiskey.
It's still a whiskey. That counts. Right. Bourbon and whiskey count.
All right. So this is Seagram's VO Gold. Crazy bastard. You're the one that said chug a bottle, Mike. Jeez. I've seen those videos of people chugging like full Jack Daniels bottles, and they're like 20 minutes in and they're just full gone.
Yeah.
All right. I just cracked this. This bottle's got some special meaning to me. My grandfather passed away a couple of years ago. This was his. I couldn't find it out here in Chicago or in California, but in Chicago you can find it. It's an 8-year Canadian whiskey, VO Gold, which out here you literally can't find. So I bought a bottle, brought it back. So yeah, I'll
That's awesome.
take a couple chugs of this.
Everybody, round of applause here. Anthony's going down.
Yeah.
Go for it, man.
I mean, I had this bottle a couple of years. So, cheers. And real quick, he came to like as many games. My grandfather came to as many games as he possibly could, and he had a T-shirt made. I actually have it. It says "Everybody hits." So
nice.
Basically, whatever team I was on, like if we were like rallying and the team got a couple hits, my grandfather was a bigger dude. He would sit in his chair down the line and be like, he would bellow out as loud as he could, "Everybody hits," and it like the team would rally around it. So,
dude, that's so awesome.
He's up in heaven. He's baseball lore for us, and everybody I played with will know this story. But this was his drink of choice. So, cheers to Grandpa Don.
Cheers to Grandpa Don. Hell yeah. That's the way to get it done, my man.
That's some good, smooth Canadian whiskey.
That is awesome. I will get your information and we'll pass that on to Mr. Stahl, and he will send you a I Survived Livewire whiskey t-shirt.
I appreciate that.
Don't worry, Stahl. I'm on it. I got the shirt size and the address coming, buddy. Hell yeah. Dude, that's totally awesome. I'm glad you shared that story with us because that's what this is all about. Like I say, it's about the baseball, it's about the bourbon, it's about the stories that come with it, the camaraderie, the community, and that just ties it all together, man. And thanks. You did not have to do a bottle chug, but that is fucking awesome.
Yeah, for him, I'll do it again. So
that is awesome.
I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully I wasn't too long-winded on some of my questions, but
no, you're all good. But I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna have you on again for sure. We'll do that giveaway whenever, but I'm gonna have you on again. And next time, don't invite the family. We want the good stories. 96 games, 104 days, dude. Buses, hotels. I know the stories are there. I've told stories on here. Some of the other guys have. I know you have some good stories.
You sent me that link, and I was like, and I had talked to some people, and I was like, all right, I'll send you the link. So you sent me that link yesterday or whatever it was, and I was like, so I started firing it out, and I had some buddies that were just like, fuck, like maybe I shouldn't have sent this out to you people because like you're gonna ask. I
saw you talking to a couple of them, and they're like, yeah, I banned you already. Yeah. I saw that. I thought maybe they were going to show up and talk some good shit, man. We've had a couple guys. When Matt Myers was on here, a couple of his guys came on and were trying to sell him down the river in the chat. And it was freaking hilarious because after he had a couple more drinks and those guys started firing those questions again, he just let it rip, man.
Nice. Well, yeah, I had some guys that I work with, and they're like hammering me about the allocated question that you guys had asked, and I was like, fuck it, like it's how it is. Like I get it. Some accounts are partner accounts, but there's laws for a reason. So if you got a question about the account, they have the same. They should have the same access to the same bottles, like the old Fitz.
Yes, sir.
So,
by the way, best picking system I've ever seen with your kids doing that for us, by the way.
Oh, the balloons. Hey, I got
yeah.
With the Parkway, stay tuned for the Parker's Heritage because I might have something for that too. So
I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
Yeah, I'll get one. I'll get one, and then there might be one for the group. But
hey,
no, this was.
don't worry. I'm all in for those bottles over $45, man, all day.
Exactly. I appreciate you having me on, and
yeah, for sure. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and out of your family time to come on with us and my guests. I don't have the biggest show on earth, but the people that come here all the time are loyal. They're awesome. Like I said, we talk the two best things out there, bourbon and baseball, most American as you can get. I love it. This is my getaway from the world. It's awesome. This community is awesome. I'll send you a list of the different channels that we all hang out with here.
Okay.
Tell you what nights they go on. You can check it out. We have a couple groups, like you're getting that shirt from Livewire. Theirs is more so like a pub. So they open it up on StreamYard, have 10 guys in there all talking. It's like our virtual bar that goes on during the week. We got some good educational channels out here. So you can't go wrong, man.
I come back to Chicago a couple times a year, so I'll find.
Yeah,
I'm coming back. Hey, I'm coming back for the Niners at Bears on Halloween.
Nice.
So I got tickets for that game. Pretty pumped about that. But I come back a couple times a year, so you and I should hook up and have a drink and.
Yeah, for sure. I live right off I-90, man. I live on the Illinois and Wisconsin border on 90, so easy trips for me to just jump on 90 and go.
I'm sure there's plenty of places in between there we can meet up.
Yeah, for sure. And I just posted the link to the video just so you can see the name of it.
Okay.
It would be yeah. You'll have to check it out. I'll send you a couple links to us at the Schlammering, which was one of the most epic events ever. And you'll see some great bottle chugging on there.
Solid.
Couple guys are lucky to be alive after some of those bottle chugs. Just saying.
Can't imagine.
Just saying. Yeah. But I want to say thank you once again for coming out, checking everything out. Oh yeah. And Lord Schlong, literally the name of his channel is Lord Schlong without the C. Go check out his old Carter video. You're going to die, man. You're absolutely going to die. Absolutely hilarious video. I'll send you the link for that too. So, but I want to say thank you for coming out, shooting the shit with all of us and getting after it. And like I said, I'm going to get you back on the show. We'll have some fun. Yeah. We'll do a little more drinking and just let it fly. So everybody keep your eyes out for Anthony Part 2 on here.
No, I can't.
It'll be a good time.
This was definitely a great time, and I appreciate it. And yeah, let's link up, and I'll come up with a decent bottle for a raffle, and you guys can go wild on it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks again, Anthony. Thanks to everyone who comes out to the channel. Thank you to everyone who supports me through Patreon. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for coming out every Thursday at 9:15 and spending a couple hours with me. Thanks once again for coming out to Big League Bourbon. For everybody who got me over 200 subscribers tonight, I appreciate you all. Take it easy. Peace out, everyone.